Before moving on to my last area, I want to talk about this conversation I had with my mom when I was a kid. She was hanging out in her room because she had bad health my whole life, and I would often hang out in the room with her and talk, listen to her stories. And one day I was telling her that I kind of felt weird. I felt like there was something missing, like there was some kind of hole in my life. And she said, I used to feel that way too, until I found the Mormon church. But you already have the church, so I don't know what it would be. And I thought, I don't know either. Well, when I was in my second to last area, I was having those feelings a lot, like something is missing. What is it? And I was talking to this guy that was a member of the ward. He was really friendly. He would come talk with us sometimes. And I was telling him that I felt like something was missing, that there was some kind of hole in my life. And that I started thinking that it was probably just whoever I was supposed to be married to. That it was like my other half that I had been missing my whole life. And he said, Elder, you need to get your mind off of girls and just think about being a missionary. And I thought, yeah, good point. When I left that area, the mamita was really sad to see us go. Both me and Villarreal were leaving, so she was stuck with the dude that nobody got along with. She didn't like him either, and she was like, oh no, I'm stuck with this one. And I gave her a big hug, and I was like, thanks for everything you did while we were here. And the dude, my companion at the time, was just like scoffing. He's like, oh, what a rule breaker. He hugged that lady. Oh, but I mean, yeah, I think technically it was against the rules for me to hug the mamita, but there's rules and there's what I felt was right, and giving her a hug felt like what was right. In Chilean culture, men typically shake hands and women kiss on the cheek for greetings. And when it's a man and a woman, they usually kiss on the cheek. And even though that was their culture, as missionaries, we were supposed to only shake hands. Although a lot of girls snuck in a kiss when they could. Even member girls that knew we weren't supposed to. Even older women would sometimes sneak in a kiss. They're funny. So I took the bus to the main bus terminal, and that's where we would do missionary transfers. And people from the ward came there to say goodbye to me, and we were taking some photos, and I put my arm around them too. And some of them were female, so all these Mormon missionaries, we got like 100 of them there, and they're all looking at me like, oh, it's true, Tim is a horrible person. Look at him, he has his arm around those girls. And even my companion-to-be saw that, and he was like, oh no, I got another bad companion. Which he told me later, and he's like, but I know you're a good guy. I know who you really are. Which was really nice of him. That he changed his mind after getting to know me. So I got to this new ward, and everyone was really mean. And I wasn't sure like what their deal was. So I guess they knew that I only had 6 weeks before the end of my mission. They probably didn't want to like get attached. But also, the well had been poisoned before I got there. Because there was a guy that just got off his mission in the ward, and he was dating a girl from my previous ward. And that she had some kind of crush on me. We joked around about how we were going to get married and stuff, but she was dating this guy and they were planning on getting married. But he didn't like me. I guess he heard about me, and the whole ward didn't like me. A lot of the ward was related, different family members and stuff. the old couple we stayed with were really rude. They would go through my stuff, and so we moved out. The mission was phasing out living with families anyways. We went to a meeting at the church building, and no one was there, so I went up and I was playing the piano, and I was playing a Social Distortion song, Story of My Life, which I thought was a fun song. And I was just playing it acoustic on the piano and singing, and this lady came in and she was like, "Elder, that's not appropriate to be playing in the church, and especially as a missionary." A member of the bishopric sold bootleg CDs, and when we were over at his house, I went through all of his music on his computer, and I was like, "Whoa, you got tons of fun stuff." So I bought a whole bunch of bootlegs off of him. And later, everyone in the ward was talking about how I was listening to music that I shouldn't. And I was like, I bought them from someone in the bishopric. I would just listen to the music like on headphones when I was going to sleep. The ward mission leader, like this dude, he looked like Ned Flanders on The Simpsons with his mustache, and he was so judgmental. He never took the time to get to know me, but he assumed that I was bad, and he's like, "Elder, just don't go inactive when you go home." And I was like, shut the heck up, you don't go inactive. I didn't say that, that's what I was thinking. So this guy that sort of poisoned the well, that was dating this girl, his family had me over, his parents and siblings. We went there for dinner, and they had like fish, and I was eating it to be polite. I never liked seafood, never liked any meat really, but especially seafood. And this dude looks at me and he's like, "Elder House, how do you like the meal?" And I was like, "It's great, thank you very much." And he said, "I heard from this girl that you don't like fish." And then I realized they prepared fish just because they knew I didn't like it. And his dad, the whole family was just kind of attacking me while I was eating dinner with them. And he said, "I heard you want to grow your hair longer when you go home." And I was like, I don't know where you guys got all this information, but yeah, I'm planning on growing my hair out. And he said, "Oh, that's bad because they say you're supposed to continue to look like a missionary after your mission." And I was like, whatever. They say Jesus had long hair. I don't think it's a sin to have long hair. So it was weird and unpleasant getting ambushed at this dinner that we had to sit through. My companion was a good guy, and he knew that I was a good guy, but I was like the third missionary in a row that he had sent home, and he was tired of having trunky missionary companions. So trunky is like missionary slang, like you got your trunks packed and you're ready to go home. I suppose I was. But me and my companion went out and worked every day, and I made it through. So we'd have mission conferences once in a while with like the whole mission, and I would talk to a couple of my companions like, "Oh man, I hate it. Like whenever the missionaries get up to like say their farewell that they're going home, they always say, 'This has been the best 2 years of my life.'" It's a saying in the church. There's a low budget Mormon film called The Best 2 Years about missionaries. But I was always like, man, I'm not going to say that, because these were not the best 2 years of my life. So it was my turn to go up in mission conference, and I told a couple jokes, funny things that happened. I said, mission life is kind of like the rest of life. Good things happen, bad things happen, you learn and grow, and I'm excited to go home. We went up to the capital, Santiago, and us group of missionaries that were leaving, we all went to the temple there. Hadn't gone to the temple for a couple of years. A temple patron asked if we would stay and do another session after we went through. And I'm a yes man, so I was like, sure, I will. But no one else wanted to because they wanted to go to the mall and get a Shakira album. as if you can't do that at home. But so they were all in a rush to get out, but I was still in the changing room, and I ran into Elder Holland of the Quorum of the 12 and shook his hand. We talked for a minute. He was nice. He joked about how they needed us to stay longer. And then we went to the airport. I was walking around. This one missionary was talking with me, and he's like, Elder House, are you gonna stay active in the church? And I was like, of course, I've always been active. Go to church every week, even if I'm sick. And he's like, pero qué tal si te da flojera? Like, but what if you just feel lazy? And I was like, no, dude. He could probably tell that I didn't really enjoy mission life. So we get on this plane, and most of the missionaries are seated next to each other, but my ticket was right next to this girl that was like some 20-year-old girl. We talked for a while, told her that I had just got done being a missionary, and it was a long flight, so she just leaned her head on my shoulder, and I leaned my head on her, and we were sleeping. And this dude that was one of my like district leaders or something during the mission, he was on the plane, and he walks over and taps me on the shoulder. He's like, Elder House, just wait a few more hours, man. I was also still coughing on the plane, so one of the stewardesses came over and she's like, have you been to China lately? She was worried about the bird flu, and I was like, nope, just been in Chile. It was a funny contrast. Flying into my mission, I was all gung-ho talking to this guy about the church and what we believe in, and on the way back I was just talking about other stuff. It was more normal. First thing I noticed when I got back to the States was everybody had blue eyes. I was like, what? I mean, I stopped in Texas and then Salt Lake, but both of them I was just like, whoa, that's a lot of blue eyes. Saw my family, gave everyone hugs, had a couple new nieces and nephews that I met. My mom was in a wheelchair, and I didn't know what that was about. She kind of stopped sending me mail for a while, and then my dad started writing. He said that she wasn't in good health, but I didn't know to what extent. Gave her a hug, and she whispered in my ear, I can't talk. And I didn't know what that meant, but it was sad, and it was kind of bittersweet coming home. So we drove home. First thing I did, getting out of the car, I kissed the ground. Glad to be back in the United States of America and home. People were gathered, we were talking in the house. And I went to the other room, like the bathroom, had a lot of emotions welling up with my mom's health. All the time lost that I didn't get to spend with family. I imagine it's similar to what a prisoner feels like after being incarcerated for 2 years and then coming back into the real world. But I actually started crying, which I'm not a crier. It takes a lot to get me to cry. It's only been a few times in my adult life that I've cried. But I was feeling pretty emotional. So, 2 years gone, and I pretty much had to pick up where I left off. And that's what I'll talk about in the next one.